Deep in the shadows of Vietnam's jungles, these tunnels at Cu Ki hid fighters during a brutal war. But above, a covert weapon was unleashed, a chemical assault that still haunts the land. 50 years later, Agent Orange is infamous for its deadly toll: cancers, birth defects, shattered lives. What secrets remain in Vietnam's soil? Who pays the price for this hidden war? We're digging into a past that refuses to stay buried.
Tôi bị nhiễm hồi năm 62 là ở dưới Bến Tre lại, rồi lên đây từ năm 68 ở ở vùng căn cứ ở Bến Cát nè, An Thành, Bến Cát, Bình Dương á, là bên kia sông Sài Gòn, bên đây là Bến Dược Củ Chi đó, đó dùng tam giác sắt. Là Mỹ thời gian nó rải dữ lắm, rải mưa như mưa rào đó, rồi kiểu như mình mắc mưa đó, mình tắm á, nhưng mà đâu có biết đâu, giải phóng vô, rồi mới biết 10 năm sau mới biết, chứ lúc đầu không biết. Rồi từ đó lập gia đình, rồi có con sinh ra, rất may là hai đứa đầu nó bình thường, nhưng đứa chót cuối cùng, đứa út lại bị, đó, nay nó 43 rồi. Cái chất độc này là đúng là nó nhiễm là cả nhiều thế hệ, Củ Chi là rất nhiều người, có thế hệ tới thế hệ thứ 3, tôi mai mới có thế hệ thứ 2 thôi.
The cost was catastrophic. Reports millions affected, including 150,000 children born with birth defects. Families like Nguyen Viet Nans live with the pain of dioxin's generational curse. How could such devastation go unnoticed for so long?
Effects and chronic illnesses, for example, cancer, diabetes, blood diseases, and liver failures. And the tragedy with dioxin is that it has an intergenerational impact. So those who are exposed to dioxin have a high rate of giving birth to children with severe cognitive and mobility disabilities. And it is still a very big problem in Vietnam. We have, according to government's estimates, we have thousands of children born after the war with severe disabilities that are linked to dioxin.
Between 1962 and 1971, the US military ran Operation Ranch Hand, a relentless campaign that doused South Vietnam with 80 million liters of herbicide. The mission: strip away forests, starve the enemy. Agent Orange, marked by its orange barrels, carried dioxin, a toxin that scarred generations. But was it just one piece of a far deadlier puzzle?
Arsenic remains in the soil and the water, and it is making people sick in Vietnam. However, because Agent Orange is still the focus, and the United States have not acknowledged that Agent Blue is a problem that needs to be addressed. So we don't have currently a program to deal with arsenic like we have the program to deal with dioxin.
Now, this caused a lot of problems for President Kennedy and his administration, because in war, it's not noble to starve your own people or your partners' people. And so we always insisted on talking about defoliation, Agent Orange. And we never talked about Agent Blue. And only a very few stories ever emerged about Agent Blue during the war itself. And so there was also concern by the administration that that could be a war crime if you starve the civilian population. So there's a lot of reasons to be cautious. This could be interpreted as a chemical weapon. We always insisted it was a herbicide, not a farmer herbicide. It wasn't a chemical weapon. However, a herbicide is a chemical, and it was used on the vegetation and on the troops.
Agent Orange stole the spotlight, but Agent Blue hides a more insidious threat, designed to kill rice crops and starve communities. Its arsenic based formula lingers in Vietnam's soil and water, never breaking down. After the war, 700,000 tube wells tapped this poisoned groundwater for drinking, farming, and fishing. Why has this silent killer been ignored?
I'll just give you a little basic science as to how this works. When dioxin gets through the canopy, gets in the soil, it attaches to the organic matter or the clay. You defoliate it, you probably increase the possibility of erosion because raindrops impact water running off monsoon season and sloping land. So the water runs off, carrying with it sediment. What's attached to the sediment? Dioxin. What's in the water? Arsenic. They go into the river. The river may go into a pond, a lake, or the South China Sea. And that's a whole new question when you get to the South China Sea and you're discharging water that's higher in arsenic and dioxin than what's in the ocean. And also that's some of the best fishing grounds in Vietnam is where the deltas come out into the ocean.
50 years down the road, the Americans realized that they need to clean up the mess they created during Vietnam War by spraying all these chemicals in their forests, for which people have been suffering over the years for almost half a century. And in 2019, they started this USAID funded project, which unfortunately has closed now because of disbanding the USAID. So this is amazing that it's like rubbing the salt in the wounds of Vietnamese. And the time is not very far when somebody from Vietnam is going to knock on International Court of Justice for bringing USAID to the court for alleged war crimes during the Vietnam War, which lost badly.
States has never apologized for the use of Agent Orange in Vietnam. The United States has also never acknowledged the term Vietnamese Agent Orange victims. And there are several reasons for this. First of all, it's very politically costly for any US president or administration to apologize to Vietnam. However, as we have seen with the Trump administration, this will not be guaranteed in the future.
5 decades after the last herbicide was sprayed, Vietnam's rivers and fields still whisper of a chemical war. Agent Orange's wounds are known, but Agent Blue's arsenic poisons in silence, ignored by those who unleashed it. Why does this crisis remain in the dark? Who will answer for the millions still suffering? And will Vietnam's scars ever heal? These questions demand answers as the shadow of the rainbow herbicide stretches across generations.